community and to be able to share all this moment together. So you might have discovered today or much earlier that we have an amazing product. A product that constantly evolves with new features, new apps, and new design. And step by step, we were able to generate more and more interest from mid-market and corporate companies. First of all, it was simply curiosity. Oh, I heard about Odoo, but I don't know what you do. Can you please show us? Can you please explain a bit what's your methodology? And of course, from start, we started to work with them. And we quickly realized that this specific segment, these mid-market companies, needs a specific relationship, but also requires a different approach than the quick start methodology that we have in place. And that's why 5 years ago, Odoo decided to launch the mid-market department, really focusing on large accounts. So my name is Jeremy, and I'm Key Account Manager in the mid-market department at Odoo.
Hello everyone, my name is Victorine and I'm Project Director here at Odoo. So today we will discover together the Odyssey of large accounts. Before we start, we would like to know a bit more about the audience today. So could you raise your hand if you're here as a partner? Okay, so many people. Can you raise your hand if you're here as a customer? Okay.
Great.
And we also have Odoo employees. Thank you guys for coming and support us. So don't try to scan the QR code because it doesn't work. Okay, I didn't test that before. I should have, but you have the URL directly, so you can directly type it on your mobile phone and ask your question in the pad. We will answer them at the end of the presentation. So the goal today is to come back to the different lessons we've learned these last few years with our large customers and to share these lessons with you. Our experience in a few figures, we have performed more than 90 ROI analyses, implemented more than 160 projects with a team of approximately 150 both functional and technical consultants, with also a strong team of experts.
And here is an overview of the 1 hour journey that we go through together today. So first of all, focus on the importance of a good project qualifications. We'll see afterwards that after a project qualification, we often suggest an analysis for this type of clients. Mid-market clients requires deep analysis of their functional needs. A good analysis allows us afterwards to a smooth project implementation for which Victorine will provide some key examples. And as you know, Odoo, we are a great community, and we really like to grow with our customer. We will have a sneak peek of different options that we can have together to grow with the customer and how we can engage them within the community. But let's dig into the first step, project qualification. So at the beginning of each relationship, it's always super important to get to know the customer, get to know the prospect, and get to know the audience that you had in front of you. During the quick start methodology, we often use what we call a qualification call. It's simply discovering the leads, understand the high-level needs, requirements, and maybe from time to time already provide a demonstration of the tool, show the solution. We rapidly saw that for mid-market and corporate, it was not enough. We see that the complexity was much higher in terms of processes, in terms of requirements. And that's why we had the feeling that we need to see things, see the current tools. And it's also one of the main differences between SMEs and mid-market clients. They already have an IT ecosystem in place. They know what are the pain points. And if we can capture that, and if we can understand this, it's an added value for the entire journey that we will spend together. It will be an added value for Odoo to see, okay, these are the pain points of my clients. I will see a solution with the tool, and I will answer these needs. That's what we call the way of working. As a matter of example, we have lots of clients from the logistics who would like to change their warehouse management tool. It's always easier for us to come on-site to see the warehouse location, the warehouse management, how their operations are managed. What is the planning in place exactly? And it's really key to be able to see that, to understand the deep dive requirements. a last way to get to know the prospect, and of course we know the bigger a company is, the more formal the process would be. And we often receive RFI, RFQ with already a list of requirements. And we were asked then to describe the solution. But once again, we quickly realized that only describing the solution wasn't enough. We need to provide already a level of complexity of the requirements. Is it in standard? Will it necessitate some developments? Or even an integration with a third party, the use of an Odoo module from the community. That was already super important, but also to provide the high-level estimates, the costs. And that's what also Victorine will explain right afterwards. All those information will allow us to do a good project qualification. And this is key for the mid-market department. As key account manager, we are working on different clients. We need to be able to take a step back, define our priorities, but also feel the emergency of certain clients. It's necessary as well to be able to take a neutral decision. Sometimes we are super enthusiastic when we are speaking with the clients, it seems super great, but maybe Odoo is not the right solution for them. And we need to be also fully transparent with that and be able to redirect them to a better approach. And that's, to me, the best, the must-have of a good project qualification, is select the best approach for the customer. Maybe we have a good relationship with them, indirect, and Odoo as an integrator will play its role, and we will do the implementation. Victorine just mentioned, we have a big team of consultants, both functional and technical, who can manage a project end-to-end. Maybe the complexity was lower than expected, and then it's better to hand it over to the quick stack methodology. And what we see more and more, it's the collaboration with the partner. We just had a talk previously on the importance of the collaboration. In case we see that the partner has a certain expertise or already a client knowledge, maybe a local presence or even the language, which can be a constraint, it makes sense for us to involve the partner and to suggest a collaboration. The strength of the editor and the expertise of the partner, both on the same boat, and that's a great cocktail, I can assure you.
So once the customer, the project is qualified, the project team can take over and start analyzing in more detail the needs of the customer. So initially the approach was called the gap analysis. As its name suggests, well, the purpose was to analyze the gap between the needs of the customer and the standard of Odoo. We realized with our large customers that in the end it was an approach which was a bit limited because it was mainly focused on functional analysis and limited in terms of budget and project plan. So the methodology evolved to the ROI analysis for return on investment, which is way more complete and broader than the gap analysis. It has several purposes. So first, it's still to validate the relevance of Odoo for the business of the customer, of course, but it's also to evaluate the cost and the benefits Odoo can offer to the customer. It's also the first step to initiate the change management and to start onboarding the customer on our implementation methodology. In the end, it helps to build a strong project plan that contains not only a planning and a budget, but also a risk analysis and recommendation on how to control this risk. In this same vision, in this same idea, this approach has evolved towards something even smarter, which means that we tend to focus on what really matters for the customer. So, for example, the first phase of the project or the core business of the customer first. So how does it work in practice? Well, we start with as-is sessions during which we will analyze the way the customer works today. So we check the different softwares, what they do day to day in these softwares. We check the papers they have to fill in, how they communicate, how they exchange, and so on. Then we have a big internal analysis phase during which we translate the business needs of the customers into functional and technical solutions. During that phase, what really makes the difference is the peer reviews we have, both from the management and from experts. So the management is involved in that process to make sure that we we take a step back and we keep the overview on the project, on the analysis, but we also have the experts who come to help us, who give insights, input, when we have more advanced configuration or development to do. Then we have 2B sessions during which we validate the future processes in Odoo. So we show a first design of the solution, and in the end we present this future solution with the project plan, with the risk recommendation and the savings and benefits. So as you understand, we have learned a lot these last few years with the ROI analysis we have done. And the main lesson we've learned is that common sense always prevails. We realize now that we don't have to analyze everything, for example, from day one. As an example, that's what we did with our customer Ego, the kitchen company here in Belgium. When we started the project, basically we analyzed everything, every scope, every need. We started the implementation, we implemented the phase 1, and then we were ready to implement the phase 2, but it was maybe 1 year or 2 years later, and we realized that the needs we had analyzed at the beginning of the project were not fully accurate and up to date anymore. So we made the decision to organize a small ROI analysis between each phase to make sure that we implement needs that are accurate and up to date. The second lesson we've learned is that it's not only a vendor-customer relationship. We are really starting from the ROI analysis a collaboration with the customer. What does it mean? Well, it means that we make sure that we understand the vision of the company, we understand where they want to go in the future. We make sure that we keep a transparent communication with the customer. We make sure that we are aligned on the output of the analysis. If there is any risk, any issue, we make sure that they know about that. And what also makes a good collaboration is, well, on the customer side, the preparation. They must be prepared before the ASI session, prepared to show everything they do day to day. But on our side, we make sure that we are here to help them to simplify and to improve their processes.
Okay, Vic, so once the clients validated the relevance of Odoo, what's next basically? So he trusts us and he decided to go with us. What do we do next?
What do we do next? Well, we start the project itself. So every project has always been different and will always be different. But still, they all go through the same main step, the same life cycle. You can see here on the screen, we have adopted many concepts from the Agile methodology. So first, we start with the initiation phase, during which we will validate the planning with the customer. We will identify the different stakeholders who will be involved in the project. We start their onboarding and so on. Then we have the implementation itself, which is divided into several phases. As an example, we might first implement the quote-to-order workflow, and then in a second phase, implement the order-to-cash, and then in a third phase, maybe add stock or accounting management. Then we prepare for the go-live by testing everything, on the customer side by validating everything, and on training the end users to make sure that we reach the go-live, which is something we actually prepare from day one. As you can see on the screen, from the initiation phase, we start preparing the go-live. Each phase is divided into sprints of 2 weeks to make sure that we keep delivering on a continuous rhythm. And to make sure that we keep going to the right direction, we have regular meetings with the customer. We meet every week to discuss the project achievements. We also meet every month to discuss the project from a higher perspective, to discuss planning, budget, risk, and so on. And we also meet monthly, approximately, in the adoption committee to discuss change management and to make sure that while we are delivering the solution, people will be ready to adopt the solution when the time comes. our mindset during the implementation, but even before during the ROI analysis, is always the same. We try to keep things as simple as possible. So we meet with the customer, of course, but we like to go straight to the point. We keep the transparent communication to make sure that we are able to make fast decisions. We try to develop what brings added value to the company only. We focus on the main needs and the main functionalities first. As an example, well, our customers always ask for the perfect solution from day one. They want the perfect solution for the first phase. As an example, I had a customer who asked for a really complex validation workflow in the purchase orders and also a really complex configuration of access rights. They all asked for that. Well, we did it, so we made the mistake to do it. And what happened? Well, they went live with that, but you know, it was really automated and really restrictive, so they had less flexibility. And when they were really using the solution day to day, they realized that it was not fully suitable for what they needed. So in the end, we had to change the development afterwards, so we wasted time, and in the end, we wasted money.
So you mentioned that it's really a collaboration together with the client. So the client is really key. Can you maybe explain us the two main roles for the clients?
Yeah. So in the past, we used to work with one main role on the customer side. I guess you know about it. It's the SPOC, the single point of contact. So that person was responsible basically for everything. The product itself, but also the change management and so on. So it was a lot of responsibilities, and again, we realized that for large customers it was a bit too much, it was not efficient, and some aspects of project management were a bit neglected. So we recently introduced two different roles, which are the product owner and the adoption manager. So the product owner will be the person responsible for the product, the solution that we develop together. So the responsibility is to make sure that we build a strong but also a coherent solution based on all the needs of the company. But most of all, that person must be able to make decisions both related to the product itself but also to project management. For example, if we decide to not develop something or change a process internally, or related to project management, it could be if we have to adapt the planning, to change the phasing, or to delay the go live, for example. The second role is the adoption manager. So that person will not be responsible for the solution itself, but responsible for the change management. So that person, the responsibility is to make sure that people are and remain on the same boat. So while we are developing the solution with the product owner, we must make sure that people are following and will be ready to adopt the solution in the end. So these are the main two roles from the ROI to the end of the project. But of course, they are not the only one in the ecosystem. As you can see here, they are supported by other profiles, such as the business owners or the key users. And on the Odoo side, we have the project director, who's responsible for the project plan, responsible for the team of mainly business analysts and developers. So again, many lessons learned, and again, the common sense always prevails. We've seen on the slide before, on that one, that we have many different profiles. It doesn't mean that we have to define one person for each profile for each project, okay? Every project is different, so it always depends on the context of the project. Also, we like to phase the project. Well, sometimes that's not possible. We have to do a big bang. It can happen. And we try to remain as flexible as possible. A project is something that lives, that evolves, so we have to adapt the planning, the phasing, and the budget, of course. Our colleague Greg told me recently that a good product owner doesn't always guarantee the project's success, but a bad product owner does guarantee the project failure. And it's really true. I had a customer, well, the Spock at the time, who was involved in the gap analysis at the time. He did a good job for the gap analysis. But then, during the project implementation, I really needed him to be able to make strong and critical decisions for the project. And he didn't have the authority to do that. So he always had to ask to many people the management, the direction in the company, which really long and complex procedure. And honestly, it's something that kills the velocity of the project. Last but not least, we don't always satisfy all customer demands. In the example I gave just before with the validation workflow and the access rights, we should have challenged the customer before. We should have said, no, we will implement something simple and then improve after the go live. Of course, the customer would not have been happy with that, but in the end, with a strong and simple solution, he would have been satisfied.
So you did a focus here more on the responsibility of a product owner, but you also mentioned the adoption manager. Can we maybe do a quick focus on that part as well?
Yeah, so as I said, the adoption manager is responsible for the change management, which is something we tend to forget. So here on the screen, you can see 3 different scenarios. The first one in orange is a scenario with basically no change management. The gray one, the one in the middle, is a scenario with a reactive change management, and the third one is a proactive change management. A few years ago, when we were mainly working with small and medium companies with the Quick Start department, we were honestly in the first scenario, the orange one. The change management was not something we were really talking about, and it was okay, it was more the responsibility of the customer. But then we started working with a larger customer, and we realized that it was something really critical on the project. So we managed the change, but a bit too late. So we were really in the second scenario, the gray one. So now we try to anticipate more the change management, to be more proactive. We try to raise awareness on the customer side from day one. We saw on the previous slide that the go live is something we prepare from the project initiation. So we talk about that from the very beginning. We are currently building some tools to support the adoption manager in that responsibility. As an example, one of our customers, Palvi, that's the flying car company who's just there. So don't hesitate to go and see the prototype. Well, they went live last month, and they really did a good job in managing the change. So basically, they really acted as a leader because they communicated directly before the project started about the change of software and the reason why they needed to change. They identified the right stakeholders who would be involved in the project and gave them responsibilities. They also made people feel good by recording videos explaining the difference between the old solution and Odoo, so they made sure that nobody would feel lost. They even put the videos on the e-learning on Odoo, and they offered gifts, chocolate, and so on to the best students. So everybody knew why they had to change and when the change would happen, when they would go live. And finally, the day of the go live, they organized a meeting with everyone to explain the agenda of the day, so people knew what would happen, what they could expect, and when. To thank everyone who was involved in the project, so to celebrate that big step for the company.
And so what are the lessons we learned based on these different experiences and thanks to a customer such as Palvi, for example?
The training plan is really super important and is something we should prepare from day one with the adoption manager, but also this celebration of the go live should be done with just a kick-off meeting in the morning to explain what is going to happen, just like Palvi did. 2 things that we realized that should not be underestimated are the time for testing and the post-go live support. So the time for testing is super important. As an example, I have a customer who went live in January. We thought that they tested everything, the development, the configuration, and so on. It was not the case. They went live, and after that, we had to spend weeks fixing and changing the developments we had delivered before. So honestly, it was a waste, again, of time and money. And it was even a risk to lose motivation and trust from the end users. During the post-go-live support phase, it's also the opportunity to gather all the feedbacks from the end and key users. And thanks to these feedbacks, we spot the areas of improvement where it makes sense to change things. The example I gave before with the access rights, well, we did that for Palvi actually. We went live with no development on the access rights, something fully standard. And then when they were using the solution day to day, we could spot where it was really necessary to add a restriction.
Perfect, thanks a lot, Vic. So now that we did a focus more on the functional aspect of the relationship with a customer, you know that at Odoo we really do like to grow with the customer, to engage him in the community. And that's what we will focus on in the next slide here. So we have different options. Basically, we can grow with the customer product-wise. We can extend the scope, but we can also increase the number of people using the tool at the client side. So first of all, what does it mean, scope extension? It's basically integrating more and more business processes within the single tool. The big difference with SMEs is that for mid-market and corporate, it's often very difficult to come and to implement a full IRP directly. It's much more easier to first integrate a business process, a department, a business line, then maybe raise awareness within the company, and then create attention on the tool for the marketing department, then the accounting, and step by step, having every department using a single tool. That's one of the options. Another option is, of course, the progressive rollout. So the main objective or the mid-market department is really to build a long-term relationship with the client. We want to provide a product that is able to support the company growth and the employee growth as well. It's important. There are different big moments, such as an acquisition of new companies, for example. And we have a perfect example with Kerus. Kerus is a consulting company active here in Belgium. They use more than 200 employees and Odoo users. And they acquired 2-3 years ago Kerus Life Science, really focusing on the industry of the life science. And from day one, thanks to the flexibility of a tool as Odoo, those employees were already able to use it, and it increased drastically the number of people using Odoo on Kerus overall. Another example, more retail-oriented here, is the expansion of the number of internal entities using Odoo. Typically, the example of Ego. Ego decided to implement the full ERP for their business, but also for their point of sales management. But it's super complicated to say, okay, every shop in Belgium, in the Netherlands, or in France will use Odoo in 2-3 days. They decided to focus on a small number of shops first, and then to increase it progressively. That's what we call the progressive rollout. And it's part of the plan of the change management that just Vic explained previously. A last example is Wallonie Entreprendre. So Wallonie Entreprendre is born from a merge between the SREW, Sowalfin, and Sobelpa. And basically, SREW was already an Odoo client. And we know when a merge opens, we need to take decision. We want streamlined processes within the 3 different entities. And the SREW really played the role of an advocate. They really push Odoo. And in the end, the 3 entities made an agreement that Odoo will be the tool that will be used for all the users within the 3 entities. And that's, once again, a perfect example of the flexibility of the tool, where we can increase easily the number of users from a database. Another way to grow with the customer, of course, is going from an Odoo version to another. It's basically what we call internally an upgrade. It's not a migration. Migration is really going from a software to another, where an upgrade is going from a software version to another. And it's also one of our main key advantage on the market compared to some of our competitors. We have a super smooth upgrade. We will not go through the process into detail. There is a talk later today or tomorrow on that. I suggest you to go through it. But basically, we realize that a min-market upgrade is not the same as an SME upgrade. A min-market upgrade required a deep analysis phase, a functional analysis between what were the development we made on the first database, the first version of the database we use. What is the gap between now the new version of Odoo, and how can we then match this gap, or maybe delete some developments and make them standard? It's a plus for the customer. It allows them to reduce the maintenance cost. So it's super useful for that. Second step in the process is simply the generation of the upgrade request. It's simply a ticket we raise. It allows us to create the team and the relevant person internally so that the upgrade can be managed. This team will prepare the upgrade database, and it's basically the standard script, which we are used to with SMEs, but also the script for the customization, which requires, once again, more preparation, more time. Once this is prepared, is coming, once again, the testing, important part. We will do a first part of the testing internally as an Odoo team, but we will, of course, ask the client to validate the new way of working, maybe, the new processes, the new functionalities. And once again, this is key to involve the client from the beginning. Once everything has been validated, you can go production database, and then you can go on with the new version. But what does it mean workload-wise? Basically, once again, the key word is collaboration. You will have the expertise, the client will have the expertise of its own business. He is using the tool day to day. And Odoo will have the expertise of the new version, the new features, the new functionality. So it needs to be, once again, together on the same boat. It will require some time, for sure. An upgrade should be seen as a kind of new project. There is an analysis phase, there is an identification of the gaps, but also a testing part and a training part. So basically, it's a new small project that will begin. We have here 3 examples of mid-market clients who managed to do an upgrade successfully. So we have La Fedas for the training management system. It was a lot of lines of code, a lot of development made, and the upgrade was successful. We have Wavestone, big consulting company, a big name, namely in France. They were able to succeed two upgrades from version 10 to version 13, and from version 13 to version 16. And they are still super happy users. And recently, we managed as well the upgrade of Volkswagen from version 14 to version 16.
So we have seen how to grow with Odoo as a customer. How can we now engage the customer in the Odoo community?
Yeah. So once again, we do like to engage the customer into the community. And there are different ways to do it. We see that on mid-market and corporate, even more than for SMEs, a client testimony can be a game changer. If you can put 2 people speaking the same business language together, one using Odoo, another one interested in Odoo, it will be really a game changer if he can share his own experience. So that's why we really try to push our client to become an Odoo advocate. Or can be simply being in the reference book. It's allow the client to have visibility, but it's allow us also to strengthen our position when we need to bid on an MMC client. To provide client testimony, as I said, organizing a chit-chat can be online, can be on-site, but it's super powerful that someone else can speak about Odoo on your name. It can be a tool for the Odoo experience as well. We have Palve, we just mentioned, who is doing a talk right afterwards this afternoon, I guess. And of course, we also have online interview. Plenty of them will be available after the Odoo experience. Another option for sure is becoming a partner. Becoming a partner means being upskilled on the product. It means being able to manage an implementation by yourself, but also having the possibility to collaborate with the mid-market department and with the expertise that we have, and maybe the visibility that we have internally. You also benefit from an active support for the indirect sales team, who is really doing a great job in educate the partner on Odoo. And we have a perfect example. Once again, I will reuse Kerus. Keyrus, back in the days, they contacted Odoo for an ERP implementation of their consulting solutions, for their consulting business, sorry. At the time, it was still a gap analysis. We performed a gap analysis. They were happy with the results. They trust us. Then we launched the project. Project went go live. Go live was smooth. Recently, they asked us to do an upgrade, to migrate from version 14 to 16, and we are just finalizing the upgrade. It should be live in a couple of weeks. Keyrus helped us a lot in the client testimony. Thanks to them, we were able to win some deals. And the clients, the new clients say literally that was a game changer. When someone else can speak about the product instead of a salesperson is often much more powerful. And pretty recently, like weeks ago, Keyrus just became a partner. And so that's the typical Odoo journey that we like. From day one being a client, maybe a bit skeptic in the beginning, for a full trust partner that will provide our service right now. So that was about our experience sharing for today. We really try to provide you some key examples from key clients and also experience that we were able to face on different project analysis, relationships. If you want to know more about some key topics that we just saw today, we advise you maybe to go through the key functionalities for mid-market clients. It's a talk that will happen later today on the auditorium that will be provided by also two MMC colleagues. We have a client testimony of Palve that will be later today, as I just mentioned, in the afternoon. And in case you're more on the technical side, there is the upgrade process that will be for tomorrow. Don't remember as well that every talks would be available online. In case you want to re-see it, it would be available. So thanks a lot for being here, and now we are open for the questions. Maybe if the pad is not working, we can do it like orally if it's fine for you.
Oh. Thank you.
So thank you very much for the presentation. It was all clear. So we have a few questions here on the pad. I guess let's start with a global one. So what's the biggest lesson learned since you started implementing MMC projects?
Do you want to start?
I can start. I think one of the key takeaways of it is the approach. We know that in Odoo we are super proud of our quick start methodology, which is working perfectly with SMEs. And maybe in the beginning we were a bit naive that saying, okay, this methodology will work as well with bigger accounts. And we made some mistakes, for sure, but from these mistakes we learned. And I think the main takeaway was, okay, we need to develop a specific department with specific expertise to tackle this specific segment. And to me, this was the main and the first takeaway that we were able to take out of the failure that we faced.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not because it's a big customer that the customer cannot be challenged. When it's a big customer, we tend to not challenge enough. Like we say yes to many demands. And honestly, that's actually the example I gave. After going live, they use it. And every time I talk with a colleague, we're like, okay, we should have challenged that because it didn't make sense to implement it. So I think even then they realized that they could have simplified the process and changed their process. It's just a hard work to do internally, but it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this first answer. So here I have another question. Will be why not combining quick start and structured project approach in order to get the client in the Odoo philosophy before going deeper in the need analysis?
But we do use the quick start methodology. I mean, we didn't build a new methodology just for MMC customers. We started working with quick start customers, so of course our MMC methodology is based on that. And that's actually what we try to do. Like when we do the ROI analysis, as I said, we don't analyze everything. We try to really focus on what is really important. So and this concept of MVP, minimum viable product, is also there. So we try to stay as much as possible within the concept of the quick start methodology, and then add other needs, other scopes, and have a bigger project and a bigger implementation. So this is actually what we do. Sometimes it's not possible. It depends on the context of the customer. But honestly, we really try to keep that focus.
And maybe if you can add something on that, we really see a big difference in terms of relationship that we can have with more SMEs and quick start approach with mid-market and corporate approach. I mean, when you assess an SMEs, you can often play a role of, maybe better how to do it, because we have the expertise of implementing accounting for SMEs, for a warehouse for SMEs, and so on. So it makes sense for us maybe to be a bit more direct. But when you assess mid-market and corporates companies, generally you have someone in front of you who has 10 years of experience in warehouse management, maybe 15 years of experience in sales management, and you cannot tell him how to do his own job. So you need more to be in the listener position instead of giving more what he needs to do. So it's also a big difference to me.
Okay, well, thank you very much again for this answer. So I have here another interesting question. It's kind of an open question regarding the training plan. How do you do that? What is the process regarding the training plan?
So training for who?
Training
For
plan.
customer.
Yes, exactly.
First, we have to identify people who will be able to give the training. We prone the train the trainer approach at Odoo, because we think that people will be more open to, will be more able to adopt the solution if the person showing the solution is someone they know, someone from their company who knows what they need and how they work day to day. So first, choosing the right person to do that. It can be one person per department, or it depends on the size of the company, of the scope, and so on. So choosing the right people is maybe the first step, I would say. Then start planning the training. I've seen plenty of projects where everything is ready and we're like, okay, now we have to train people, but nothing is has been discussed in advance. So it's we're always a bit late when we don't anticipate like that. So plan that from the beginning. Like if you know when you are supposed to go live, already think about, okay, we are going to train these people that week and so on. So people are aware of what is coming. So choose the people, start planning. And then for the support, for the tool, here at Palvi, they recorded a lot of videos, and I think it was a great idea, really to, as I said, to explain, okay, in the old software you used to work like that, tomorrow in Odoo you will work like that. So they really have the comparison and they were not feeling lost. They did that. That's a good way to train people, because people can even rewatch the video afterward. But I think a face-to-face training is even more powerful, like being with the people, watching what they do, make them use the system, have the mouse in the hand and so on. I think it's the more effective way to do it.
And maybe once again to add on this, Vic mentioned during the presentation, it's often a service, it's often a part of the implementation that we tend too much to forget in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really something that we are also starting to be trained on, and that we ask the consultant to be more upskill on that. And so it's a learning process as well for us for the moment to put in place the right tools, the right approach, and the right methodology. So we start to being there, and we really, once again, get a lot of experience from our potential, from the clients, and when we saw how they handle the change management themselves, we will get a lot of information from them.
Mm-hmm. Well, perfect. Thank you. Another question here regarding the development, potential development that you could make on a project. Do you mutualize them in case of similarities, similar needs within different customers?
Yeah, of course. If I have a customer asking for a feature that we have already developed for another customer, we won't be stupid and do the whole analysis and development from zero. Of course, we will check what they did. But, every project is different, as I said. Any database is different. the customer one will have that configuration with another development already in place. The other customer will have different configurations. So we cannot always just take the development and put it just like that in the other database. It's not always possible, but of course we try to, as we said, we try to keep things as simple as possible and to think smart. So we try to do it as much as possible, yeah.
And also, when we see that a certain developments, a certain requirements is often asked from different clients, we will report it to the R&D directly, and okay, fine, they will define if it will be for the next version or maybe a later stage, but it would be on the roadmap. When we see that it's recurring needs, we see that it has an added value for the product to become a standard needs, so that we don't need to do the development anymore, and it fits all the client requirements over there. Best example, once again, is Connect Plus with all the point of sales needs that has been implemented in the standard version of Odoo right now.
Well, perfect. So, next one here will be, can you describe a customer purchase journey and profile? Are there general trends, like majority of customers require turnaround, majority can't get functional support from their current system, or growth of the customer is too big, too fast, and need a tool to handle this?
To be honest, we don't have a perfect persona. We have lots of demands from different type of clients. And in the previous talk, Lucas, or the MMC manager, just mentioned, we started to segment this client into three main areas. So first of all, it's what we call the small MMC, then the mid MMC, and then the corporate big MMC. That's the only way we try to a bit segment the clients. In terms of industry, we have plenty of them. And even though when an industry is asking us for an ERP implementation, sometimes it's CRM oriented. But someone from the same industry will come maybe for the warehouse management. So we don't have a real typical persona in MMC. The idea, once again, it's long-term relationship with the main purpose of Odoo, trying to have the more integrated system in one single tool.
Cool, perfect. So I see that we have still plenty of questions. The next one will be, how do you manage the client budget? For instance, a fixed price for a sprint and then a certain number of sprint, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we don't do fixed price, so we work only in time and material. It's an element on which we will not derogate yet, at least. And the only fixed price that we propose is for the ROI analysis. So there we do an agreement on the number of days based on the advice of the consultant teams, and we go with the analysis. And we will perform the analysis even if we need to do the extra mile and to do the overload.
Well, okay.
And for budget management, maybe quickly on that for the project, it's directly in Odoo, and we have also tools with the dashboard management system in Odoo.
Do you want me to explain that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
so to manage, I can explain that. So we have the initial budget estimated for the project, but of course it's always an estimation. And then we have a tool where we can see the consumed budget. The consumed budget. We also have the updated budget. So after the ROI analysis, we have the budget we estimated, but maybe we will estimate a dev at 2 days of work. And when we start the project, we have to take other factors into consideration, and the dev will take 2 or maybe 3 days. So I have a tool where I can see the difference between what we have estimated in the ROI analysis and what I have currently in my pipe, and then the consumed budget. I also have a tool where I see the progress in terms of tasks. So after the ROI analysis, everything we have analyzed is one task in our project in Odoo, of course. So I see the progress of my task. So I have a ratio calculated, and I have a formula calculating a forecasted budget. So let's say, okay, we have reached 25% of the project. We have that initial budget and we have already consumed that, then the forecasted budget might be that amount. That's basically it. We have also a tool to track the new request, the change request, and so on, and to see how it impacts the budget.
Beautiful, thank you. So here I have another one. When using progressive deployment, what's the best approach to manage data integrity and consolidation?
I would say the first thing is really select the best advocate within the company. So if we take the example of Ego, they selected a shop that was already quite IT friendly, digital friendly, where the acceptance to change were already quite high. We know that maybe for other shops, the manager is maybe a bit older, or the affinity with IT is maybe not that high, then maybe it's not the best one to start with. Let's try and let's implement on the easy one first. They will play the advocate role, and then the word will be spread around the company. People will speak about a great product. People will speak about the increase of productivity. And there, so that's for me the main advice. Let's try to first focus on a small number of shops, digital friendly, open to change, and then to spread it over step by step.
Cool, thank you. The next one will be how long does it take generally or averagely to upgrade the upgrade process, sorry, into the MMC market?
Once again, each project is different, so it's completely based on the number of developments that would be made and number of line of codes for sure. So let's say that we try to estimate some upgrade. It can be from a 1 month to a 6 to 8 month period. Once again, depending on the number of line of code. So I cannot provide you a perfect example for that. If I'm taking back the example of Kerus, Kerus is almost 10K of line of code, I think, and it took something like 5 months.
That's also why it's important to challenge and do things as simple as possible, because the most development you have in the database, the more complex will be the upgrade. So if you can avoid having complex developments in the database, it's better.
Well, so the next one will be what is the most important step through the full process and generally the biggest challenges that you face?
Through the full process.
Yeah, the full process.
But we have different roles, so we are facing different challenges for sure. For my part, I would say that the main challenge is to build a relationship and also to build the trust. Because when you build the trust with the person, but also on the product, it will be much more easy as well for the project team to be able to discuss transparently and openly with the clients. So for my part, I would say the trust build, the relationship itself.
Mm-hmm. And for your part?
I'm thinking, what is my biggest challenge? I have a lot of challenge, so again, managing to keep. I have the feeling that I repeat myself, but it's true. Managing to keep a simple solution and dare to again challenge the customer. Jeremy said before that when you have a big customer in front of you, sometimes with a lot of many years of experience, sometimes you don't feel legitimate to challenge and say no, actually we won't do that. And so we try to do it. Well, I try to do it. It's not always easy. So that's my biggest challenge. So we tend to say yes too many times. And yeah, I have one customer in mind. Like today, I know that we could have avoided many things, and the project would be much easier.
Well, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
There is maybe a question over there.
No.
Middle.
Yeah, so if a client implement 1 or 2 modules, aside Odoo, from the community itself, community modules, another tool. Yeah. Yeah. So the question here is around how do we manage the integration with other existing system. So for example, a client decides to only choose for, let's say, the sales applications, from CRM to sales management, but want to stick the accounting from the existing modules. And the question was, what are the frequent reasons why they decided that, right? Yeah, they pay for one tool and for another, for something that can be done in one single tool. Sometimes it's simple. It's simply political. There is a tool in place, working. Why do we need to change? We already change a scope, a department. Why should we do a big bang and change everything in the same time? So that's sometimes purely political. Sometimes as well there is the importance of the data migration. It's heavy. It's often something that the client is afraid of. They would say it's maybe easier to start step by step. We will focus on the first scope, manage the data, see how the tool is working, and then we will continue. But also for a big company who has already IT system in place, it's a big decision. Sometimes the decision is taken by a manager, but you know there is the board looking to him and saying, okay, if it's a failure for the entire company, for the entire all the departments, you would be the one responsible. If it's a success, it's super. But then the risk is much lower if you go step by step. So once again, there are different reasons, and sometimes we cannot, we don't have let's say, the things in hands to come and to say, okay, we will do the full ERP. That would be the dream, of course, for us, but it's not always the case, and we need to accept that.
Well, thank you very much for your presence. Thank you for the question as well, and we can't wait to see you this afternoon.
Yeah. If you want, we can just.
Sure.
Thank you.